I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. An important update to report on in Fulton County, Georgia, where the Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis has filed a major motion before Judge Robert McBurney in the Superior Court in Fulton County, where she requests that an attorney by the name of Kimberly Burrows DeBrow be disqualified from representing 10 of these fake electors at the same time. And these fake electors are individuals who unlawfully submitted their names to be counted instead of the real electors based on the fact that President Biden won the election. And these electors, there were 16 of them in total in Georgia, but 10 of them are represented by Kimberly Burrows DeBrow. They all put their names on this certification claiming that Donald Trump won when Donald Trump lost Georgia. What you'll recall and why this motion is so important is that previously we reported on what was taking place in what was called a special purpose grand jury. And the special purpose grand jury was impaneled to make a report and recommendations for possible criminal indictments in connection with the Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis's ongoing criminal investigation into election interference in the 2020 election. They finished their job. They prepared their report. We don't yet know their recommendations because that's still confidential and it's still under seal. We believe one of their recommendations was for Donald Trump to be criminally indicted and for these fake electors to be criminally indicted. But the process in Georgia is that the special purpose grand jury makes recommendations, but then an actual grand jury has to be impaneled the same way there was an actual grand jury impaneled in Manhattan, and the actual grand jury in Fulton County, like the one in Manhattan, they then make the vote, and they vote to criminally indict or not criminally indict people like Donald Trump. And so that is now what Fani Willis is preparing for, basically taking those recommendations and bringing them before a grand jury in addition to potential other evidence. And so the grand jury that's supposed to be impaneled in Fulton County, that's supposed to take place in May. So I would expect indictments to come out of Fulton County, Georgia, late May to mid-June. I would be shocked if it happened after July, but the time frame I think would be from May to July when we'll see a criminal indictment of Donald Trump and others out of Fulton County, Georgia. But in any event, we haven't really heard much news about what's gone on since that special purpose grand jury prepared its report, and as we wait for the actual grand jury to be impaneled in May. But this is an important update, and what we're learning from this filing, which is styled as a motion to disqualify this attorney, Kimberly Burrows DeBrow, is that the Fulton County District Attorney has been making a lot of, or been having a lot of interviews with these fake electors. And what's become clear is that these fake electors are no longer all working together. And so a lot of these fake electors now may be changing their tune and may be willing to testify against some of these other fake electors. And who are these fake electors? They're some of the most prominent Republicans in the state of Georgia who went along with Donald Trump's scheme because, what does MAGA stand for? Make attorneys get attorneys. And it also stands for basically making these legislatures and legislators who support Donald Trump get criminal liability as well here. And both of those sayings are proven true here with attorney Kimberly Burrows DeBrow being accused by District Attorney Fani Willis of engaging in unethical behavior. And now, as this motion points out, because these fake electors are pointing the fingers at each other, it is unethical, the district attorney argues, for Kimberly Burrows DeBrow to try to represent all of them. They have what's called an unwaivable conflict, the district attorney argues. So even if they at first waived potential conflicts of interest in a lawyer representing clients that have interests against each other, what the district attorney says, you can't waive these conflicts. And what the district attorney accuses this lawyer of doing is basically just trying to make sure that all of these fake electors have the same exact story, even though if they separately were to testify, they would testify against each other. And how would we know they would testify against each other? Well, in this motion, Fani Willis points out that she's been conducting interviews with some of these fake electors. And she says in this motion that some of the fake electors said, pointed fingers at each other, number one. But two, some of these fake electors also stated that they never even had an offer conveyed to them that if they testified against other fake electors, that they could receive immunity. In other words, what Fani Willis is accusing this attorney, Kimberly Burrows Dubrow, of doing is not conveying the offer of potential immunity so that these fake electors would keep their stories together, even if it was not the true story, and that they would ultimately not tell the truth before the special purpose grand jury. But now as Fani Willis is preparing to go before the grand jury and these fake electors are like, oh crap, this is real now. Like, we're going to get criminally indicted. They're all saying, hey, we wish we would have known that we could have got immunity for testifying before the special purpose grand jury. We wish that we were told that. And they're claiming, according to the district attorney in this filing, that Kimberly Burrows Dubrow was not even telling us that we could have potentially gotten an immunity offer. So let me read for you some key portions of this motion. It says, comes now District Attorney Fani Willis, and it moves this court to disqualify Kimberly Burrows Dubrow in her simultaneous representation of multiple parties in this matter. The introduction then goes on to explain how the Georgia rules of professional conduct plainly state that a lawyer shall not represent or continue to represent a client if there is a significant risk that the lawyer's own interest or the lawyer's duties to another client, former client, or third person will materially and adversely affect the representation of the client. And then it goes on to say, even client consent, so a client waiving the conflict, client consent is not permissible if the representation, quote, includes the assertion of claim by one client against another client represented by the lawyer in the same or substantially same proceeding. So you can't get a waiver, this motion argues, if the clients are accusing each other of wrongdoing here. And then the motion goes on to say, accordingly, for the reasons set forth below, this lawyer should be disqualified. Kimberly Burrows Dubrow needs to be disqualified. The motion then sets forth the process of, on January 24th, 2022, the Fulton County Superior Court Chief Judge authorized the impaneling of the special purpose grand jury. It goes on to explain how during the course of her investigation, the district attorney learned that attorneys Holly Pearson and Kimberly Burrows Dubrow had been retained to simultaneously represent 11 relevant clients, and then they list who those individuals were. These are the fake electors, each of who had signed their names to the false certificate of vote purporting to be duly elected and qualified presidential electors for the state of Georgia. At the meeting on December 14, 2020, the motion goes on to say that in July of 2022, this court directed the Fulton County District Attorney's Office election investigation team to have conversations with Pearson and Dubrow about immunity for their clients. And the motion goes on to say that while these offers of immunity were made, it doesn't seem like Pearson and Dubrow conveyed that to their client. The motion goes on to say how on October 3rd, 2022, there was another motion to disqualify filed. So last year, 2022, Fani Willis filed a motion to disqualify Pearson and Burrows because they were representing 11 of these fake electors. And ultimately, what the court said is that the lawyers would have to decide if they were going to represent just one of these fake electors, David Schaefer, or if they were going to represent 10 others, because there was a conflict between Schaefer and the 10 others. Ultimately, these lawyers, Pearson and Dubrow, asked the judge, hey, can Pearson represent Schaefer, and then can Dubrow represent the 10 others? And the motion goes on to say that this court reluctantly allowed that to take place, but the court represented or reflected on the fact that there could be an ethical mess taking place here. So now what Fani Willis says in this motion is that the issue of representation of the current status quo of Mr. Bro representing 10 of the electors has reached a, quote, impracticable and ethical mess, as events in the past week have shown. Now, this is key. On April 12, 2023 and April 14, 2023, members of the Fulton County District Attorney's Office interviewed certain of the electors represented by Mr. Bro, with Mr. Bro in attendance. During these interviews, some of the electors stated that another elector represented by Mr. Bro committed acts that are violations of Georgia law and that they are not a party to these additional acts. Additionally, in these interviews, some of the electors represented by Mr. Bro told members of the investigation team that no potential offer of immunity was ever brought to them in 2022, which is in direct conflict with Mr. Bro's co-counsel, Ms. Pearson's representation to this court on August of 2022. So here, District Attorney Fani Willis is saying these fake electors who are on the verge of being criminally indicted, they want to tell on each other. And based on this current representation structure, they're feeling constrained to do so. And also, they didn't even know, they weren't even told that some of them could have got immunity if they would have told on each other. And they're saying that was a shock to them. And so here, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is saying that these lawyers, Pearson and DeBro, acted unethically and they need to be disqualified from this matter. Well, it is important that this motion on disqualification is explained. What it tells us about the ongoing criminal investigation by the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, I think, is also important. That the Fulton County District Attorney is making monumental progress in its criminal investigation into these fake electors, into Donald Trump, that it is getting increasingly ready to present before an actual grand jury, and that indictments are actually imminent now. Does imminent mean end of May? Does imminent mean June? I believe so. I think it's before July. That's what this data tracks right here. But this is major movement. So if you were wondering, hey, I heard a lot about Fulton County, Georgia, and what Fani Willis was doing. What is going on now? Well, this is what's going on now. She's conducting these interviews. Some of these fake electors are flipping on each other. Some of these fake electors are saying their lawyers weren't giving them information. Fani Willis seems like she's doing a great job, and the district's attorney's office has these fake electors on their heels right now. And this has got to be very alarming to Donald Trump as well. I think you should expect a Donald Trump criminal indictment out of Fulton County, Georgia before July, as well as many of these fake electors, as well as many of the individuals in Donald Trump's orbit who aided and abetted his criminal election interference. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers, so please hit subscribe right now. Also, check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. In addition to our Patreon, you can check us out wherever you get audio podcasts. Just search the MeidasTouch podcast. It's free. All right, it's free to subscribe to this YouTube, so please subscribe to this YouTube channel right now. Help us get to 1.5 million subscribers. Thank you so much. I'm Ben Meiselas. Have a great day.
Love this video? Then you'll love the MeidasTouch podcast. Listen as my brothers and I break down the latest news and chat with top political leaders on the fastest growing pro-democracy podcast in the world. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Friday. Add the MeidasTouch podcast right now wherever you listen to your podcasts.